Good afternoon, Stockholm. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm here representing the international appeal to stop 5G on Earth and in space. And this was written together with Rainer Nyberg and a lady called Lynn Wycherley in England and Arthur Furstenberg in the United States. Now, you will be surprised to learn that there's a very strong Swedish connection between me and 5G. Why is that? It's because Professor Olle Johansson of the Karolinska Institute was the person who alerted me at first to the dangers of electromagnetic radiation. And I was living several years later in Austria, where I had a Swedish friend. And my Swedish friend, very, very suddenly, when they rolled out 5G last year in Austria, she very suddenly became electro-hypersensitive. And this took place in just 3 weeks. And I was with her when this happened. And it was a horrible experience for her. She had stabbing pains in her ears, stabbing pains in her eyes, stabbing pains in her body. She had buzzing organs. She felt she was going to have a heart attack. And together we had to go and take refuge in the woods. And we actually slept in the woods because this was the only place where she could be without pain. So in the space of just 3 weeks, she went from leading a normal life to having to run away from Austria. And she got in her car and she left. And before she left, she told her former husband and her 3 children what she was experiencing. And her family did not believe her. They thought she was crazy. She'd gone crazy overnight. Now, you'll be aware that the politicians are also laughing. Last year, I was very concerned about the situation at the United Nations office in Vienna, where I used to work, and I went to the Secretary General and I told him about the dangers of electromagnetic radiation and 5G. And anybody who has watched that video will see that the Secretary General laughed. I was watching a video last night showing French lawmakers in the French Parliament in recent days discussing 5G, and some of those French lawmakers also laughed. You have to ask yourself, what kind of psychopath laughs in the face of people suffering, people in agony, electro-hypersensitive people who are being tortured? I find it very strange indeed. What do we know for sure about electromagnetic radiation? Well, we know that microwave ovens operate at 2.45 gigahertz. And even the 4th generation of wireless technology, which we have now, operates at 2.4 gigahertz. It's almost the same frequency. So there can be no doubt. Right now, we are living in a situation where the microwave oven is on, but the door is open, and we are being irradiated all the time. When it comes to 5G, 5G is a completely different technology. It's a totally new technology. It cannot be compared to the present 4th generation. It's going to be 100 times worse, and it's going to be a real killer, and it's something that we have to stop. What evidence do we have for the damage of electromagnetic radiation? At this stage, we have at least 10,000 peer-reviewed studies telling us about the dangers. We probably have something over 20,000 in total. And this research goes right back to 1932 and beyond. My writing partner on the international appeal to stop 5G on Earth and in space is Arthur Furstenberg, who is a scientist in the United States, and he has written about the history of electricity. And what he has shown is that every time there was an expansion in the use of electricity, there was increased disease. And he attributes all the major diseases of civilization very largely to electromagnetic radiation. So first of all, in the 19th century, you had electric lighting, then you had radio, you had radar, you had power lines going to homes, television, and 20 years ago, we got mobile phones. It's interesting to note that in the last 20 years, we have lost 80% of our insects. And if we get 5G, we're going to lose 100% of the insects. And when the insects go, we go too. This 5G is the biggest biological experiment in human history. Very shortly, very soon, in June, Elon Musk has permission to launch upwards of 12,000 satellites. There are permissions existing right now for 23,000 satellites to be launched, and these satellites will beam 5G from space. This will mean that there will be no escape on this planet for anybody. No electro-hypersensitive person, and believe me, when 5G comes, we will all be electro-hypersensitive. These satellites, if you look at the literature when they talk about these satellites, the word they use is to blanket the planet. That means to cover every square centimetre of this planet. That means there will be no escape, not on the ocean, not in the rainforests, nowhere, not even in the deserts. There's only really one thing that we have to know about 5G. 5G has never been tested for health or safety. So we are all guinea pigs in the biggest biological experiment ever. So what I would ask you to do today is I would ask you to take action. This is the biggest challenge in human history. People say, okay, you cannot warn people in advance because people will not listen in advance. They have to start feeling something, experiencing something, before they choose to stop it. We don't have that possibility this time. Before 5G happens, it must be stopped. Children sitting now in classrooms, in Wi-Fi, they are becoming sterile. With 5G, there will be total 100% sterility in 5 generations. It must be stopped. 4 months ago, I smashed my mobile phone. If you go on YouTube, you can see me smashing my mobile phone. The only way to stop this is to stop being part of it. We have to stop using mobile phones, and we have to show the telecoms communication companies that we are not interested in 5G and we are not going to participate in it. Once they see that they will have no profits, they will give up. Next, I would ask you to put your life on hold until you've stopped 5G. That's what I started to do 1 year ago. I only now work on stopping 5G. Some of my friends say to me, I'm too busy, I have plans, I have projects. Well, there will be no future if we allow 5G. So I don't care how busy you are, you have to stop this. So I would ask you, please, to drop whatever it is that you're doing and start working full time on stopping 5G. We have to act. We have to act now before the catastrophe. And we can do this. If you look around the world at the moment, the message is spreading. Okay, it's starting. We cannot declare a victory at this stage, of course. But more and more people are becoming informed. We know that millions of people around the world are now aware, and you are starting to see signs amongst some lawmakers that they are beginning to be aware. I'm sure you heard about the health minister in Belgium who said we are not having 5G in Brussels because the people in Brussels are not guinea pigs. Well, none of us are going to be guinea pigs in this experiment, because altogether we are going to stand up and we are going to stop this.